Welcome back, everyone. This is the second video that I'm doing in what will hopefully be a series about board games, in particular about online play of board games, and in particular using the boardgamearena.com website, which allows you to play board games for free against other people, although you can actually pay for a membership and get particular perks. I haven't done so. Um, in this video, I want to talk about a specific game. I want to talk about Railroad Inc., which is one of my favourite games at the moment. It is a roll and write game, which means that it is broadly in the same family as Yahtzee, in the sense that you, as a player, have, well, in real life, you'd have a pad of paper, and there's usually dice thrown, although sometimes they use other mechanisms, but there's some sort of randomness. And then every person who's playing has to write down something based on that result using particular rules, and different combinations of things that you write down get you points. Um, in this particular case, Railroad Inc. uses dice which have pictures of a stylized network of roads and rails. Now you can see in this particular case, I'm playing a game with, I think there's 12 players there, but although it might be a problem in real life, online that's not a huge deal because we're all reacting to the dice. In the diagram here, the dice are right next to my virtual pad, but actually every other player would be seeing exactly the same dice as me. And because I'm not playing live, I just come in, do my turn, and then go on to play another game. And then once I've done all the games, log off the site. It doesn't really matter to me if another player is being a bit slow and takes 5 or 10 minutes or half an hour or whatever it may be to take their turn. So that's one of the advantages of online play, and that's one of the things that I want to make a theme of these videos, that online play isn't just a sort of poor version of live play. It isn't just the thing you do because you can't get your friends around, or because there's quarantine, or because you're too far from a gaming group, or whatever. It actually has advantages in itself, and to me, it is actually preferable to playing face to face. Although I would do both, but generally I found online play to be a lot more easy and sometimes more fun. So let's talk about the rules of the game in a bit more detail. This isn't going to be a complete rules explanation. It's really more of a detailed review, I suppose. But as I say, you've got dice which show the different combinations of roads and rails. In this particular case, you have 3 dice. The top 3 are the sort of normal dice. They exist in every variant. There's 5 major variants of the game. The way it's sold is a little bit complicated. You have, in real life, you have a red box which has the sort of basic game and 2 little variants. And then you have the blue box which has the basic game, the same one, and 2 different variants. But there's no way to get all 4 of those variants except for buying 2 of the boxes. So it's a bit weird, but obviously they found that to be economically the best way to do it. The blue box, the variants are themed around water, and the red box, they're themed around fire. Although it looks like it's more orange than red, but anyway, it's more themed around fire. The 2 variants in the blue box are lakes and rivers, and the 2 variants in the red box are volcanoes and meteors. I suppose meteors aren't particularly closely related to fire, but that was the way that they did it. Anyway, let's look at the game. So these top 3 dice will be the same in every variant of the game. you've got, in this particular case, I've got a straight road, I've got a curved rail, and I've also got it hasn't shown, but one of the options, if you look on the top of the pad here, you can see the six options that you get on the normal dice that are in every game. There's also T-junctions there and there. And then of those three alignments, you can get that in rail or in road. And then you have the one special dice, and again, that's in every version. And I've brought up the six possibilities there, or really there's only three possibilities, two of each, which is a road with a rail going under it, a road turning into a rail, and a road turning into a rail at 90 degrees. And then down the bottom, this is the only difference in the variant, other than if you look on top of the dice, you can see it says it's round 1 out of 6. In the base game, you get 7 rounds because you're rolling fewer dice and the pad fills up less quickly. In this particular case, we're trying to make, without going into it in too much detail, what you want to do is make a single lake, and you want to have a lot of roads or railway lines going into that lake and ending at the black square, which is considered to be a station. And although the points are quite complicated, if you look where my mouse is, you can see 5 different, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, you can see 6 different things that contribute to your points, but actually there's really one that's much more important than the rest, and that is how many of these pre-drawn railway lines or roads have you been able to link up. That's the thing that really contributes to who wins, I think, most of the time. The reason that the 9 squares in the centre are a different colour to the others is that you get an extra point for every one of those you fill up, just because it seems to be a bit easier to connect the railway and road without going through the centre, and so they give you that little incentive to try and get into the centre. The only other bit of the pad that I haven't talked about is these 6 up here. They are sort of special, I suppose you'd call them crossroads, or special ways of filling in the squares. You can do those. When I click one, if you notice that the certain squares of the pad go dark, that's indicating which squares I can legally place those special ones. But I'm actually not going to do that in this video, because in general you do them in the last rounds. You can only do a total of 3. You can't ever do a particular one more than once. Once you do it, it'll come up with a sort of X across it, and so you won't be able to do it ever again in that game. And it seems like it's much better to, in the first 3 rounds, not do that and then slap them down in 4, 5, or 6. Although there are certain situations where you know that you're going to need one in a particular place, and you might as well put it there. But generally speaking, you save it to the end. So I'm going to go through an example of a turn. It's fairly straightforward, actually. You click on a particular dice. I've clicked on the first dice. Again, the pad, particular squares go dark to tell me where I can go. It's quite symmetrical, so often, like these 4 roads, it wouldn't really matter which one of those I picked because they're symmetrical with each other. Or I could pick that one. I'm actually going to pick, let's say, that one, just for fun. If I wanted to, I can rotate. In this particular case, it's rotating in a way that doesn't matter because there's only really one way to arrange it, but there might be other circumstances where you could rotate at 90 degrees. But anyway, so let's say I go there, and let's say I pick this one. You don't have to do them in order. Let's say I go there. You can also like mirror it, like flip it like that. If I rotate it, I think it'll just go right round. But So what I've done there is I've started off one of the roads and I've sort of set up to fill in that one as well. Although I could fill it in if I roll a straight or if the game rolls a straight railroad next round, but I actually want a T-junction because you usually don't want to sort of seal off a section. What you really want is one big network that covers as many of these starting roads or rails as you can. So I'm going to leave that one for now. I might have to use a straight line if we get through the game without rolling one, but I would think that I probably will, since there's 3 dice. The other thing I need to think about is the lake. You want to start the lake sort of with a particular size, which is neither too big nor too small. I'm gonna do this just because I've learnt. I'm not super good at the game, but that seems to me to be a doable size, and you want it to be as big as possible. You get more points if it's bigger. And so those are sort of obvious ones. I'm left with these two. Now, I'm not going to put, I could put it there, but I don't want to do that because I think the lake will get in the way. If I put it in the top right corner, I think the lake will get in the way. I'm sort of writing off this top right rail. I'm sort of setting it up so that I'm never going to, you're probably not going to do anything with that, but that's okay. You can't do something with every single one anyway. So what I'm going to do instead is, let's say I put that one there, and then I put the other curving railway there, and I've set that up to go up that way and hopefully eventually feed into the lake and hopefully meet up with this this road and this rail that are next to it. Although of course it is a game of dice and it doesn't always work out how you want. But I'm going to press done for the moment, and let's go and I'll show you another variant. Once again, the little tumour symbol that they use. This is another variant, the river variant, the other one that you get in the blue box if you did it in real life. And in this one, the difference is that you're trying to create a river and you want the river to be as long as possible. I won't spend too much time on this because it is sort of 80% the same game. But let's say that I do that. Turn it around. You want it to go, in this particular version, you get points for the river and you get points if both ends of your river go off the screen, as it were, off the pad. So that's why I've started with it coming like that. I could have started it in the middle, but I just find it a bit easier. Some people, I've noticed, start in the middle and then work from both ends, and perhaps that gives them more options. But I don't know. I found this basically. Well, it works better for me anyway, and then I'll just do this quickly. So let's use that one. So you can see I'm setting these. So as you can see, I've joined these two up, but I haven't sealed them off completely. This one can still join with other ones, and that's why I did it in that order. And then I'll leave the one down the bottom because the river's probably going to go along there, and I don't want to interfere with that. So maybe I'll just do that, and we'll call it done. Now, the red button, you'll notice that when you have open games, the red button will say, basically click to go to another game, and now it's saying get back to tables list. What that means is it is telling me that I don't have any games where it's my turn to move, and then it'll take me to this list of every game that I'm currently involved in. Usually I have 2 Railroad Inc. games and 2 Quantum games going at once. I've started a couple more just for the purposes of the demonstration. That seems to be about sort of what doesn't overwhelm me but does make me feel like I've sort of had a good go. Obviously, that will depend on how much spare time you have, and you can, as far as I know, you can play as many games as you want, and you can certainly play as few. So obviously, you have to do a bit of experimentation to find that. You do get sort of penalised if you abandon a game. I'm not sure exactly what happens, but I think you're less likely to get games in future. So if you do start a game, make the effort to finish it, even if you find that it's a bit much for you. The other thing I want to say about Railroad Inc. is that it's very simple, but it's surprisingly satisfying. Once the network sort of grows, and once you're trying to work out how to combine the different roads or rails that you've started, and once they start joining up, you start to see the points start to really pile up. You start to get sort of more and more points, and it's very satisfying, or it can be very frustrating, of course, because sometimes you don't get the right dice. It's very, very simple. It's very, very quick. There's only 6 or 7 rounds, depending on whether you're playing the basic game or a variant. And in real life, I mean, it depends on how quick people are, but in real life, I'd expect it to be done in less than an hour easily. Depending on how, whether people really sit there and analyse it or whether they sort of play more casually. But yet it sort of packs quite a lot of satisfaction and quite a lot of sort of what you want out of board games in a very small, in that short period of time, and in that simplicity. I mean, I learnt the rules pretty much the first time I was playing. At least the rules of the basic game. I hadn't quite worked out the some of the variants, but then I didn't even look up the rules. I just kind of worked it out. It's very, very simple. You could easily teach someone who's not normally a board gamer to play it. And it's very good sort of value, as it were, for the amount of effort you have to put in. The satisfaction you get out is very good. I can't really speak to value in terms of the price. It seems a bit odd that you only get 2 variants and there's 2 different boxes. Obviously, some people are buying 2 boxes, I guess. But that's not really the focus of this series of videos. So I recommend it, and that's all I have to say. Next time, you've probably noticed I'm playing a couple of games of Quantum. Next time, I hope to teach you a little bit about another one of my favourite board games, Quantum, which is a very abstract game, but it does have a theme of a kind of space war. So hopefully I will see you again when we do that.